for Off the Block. I'm Vinny Lipson. We are now joined by Lewis men's volleyball head coach Dan Friend as his team is beginning their preseason training block. But, Coach, before I talk to you about the preseason, got to talk to you about Friday night, very big event that I know is dear and near to your heart, the fight for the Preemies. Can you talk a little bit about this event and how people can contribute?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Vinny. I think, playing for Preemies is a thing me and my wife started a few years ago. Our daughter was born premature, 4 months. She was born 1 pound 8 ounces and about 12 inches long at 24 weeks. And so definitely time just in terms of all the stuff that came with that. And we've done this game twice a year for the past few years to kind of dollars. You know, initially it was to fundraise dollars, but then money went back to the Loyal and EQ. But what we've done new this year is me and my wife, with the help of our student athletes, and have developed a website and a foundation called the Ray Strong Foundation. And basically the money and proceeds go to this foundation. And then what we're going to do with the foundation is we're going to identify and assist families in need of micro preemies or preemie situations in terms of that, and then help them out hopefully financially. And so really just got it off the ground here the past few weeks. We've been working on it for the past month or two, and you can get on the website. You can buy a T-shirt, and those funds go towards the foundation. You can just make a straight donation. We're a nonprofit organization in terms of that, and so it's just a great cause that we're trying to even go a little bit further with, and hopefully impact some other people and help them out the way people helped us out.
Yeah. Now, before I get to the volleyball, do I have to ask, how's Ray doing? How's dad life still treating you?
It's great. She's awesome. We're getting ready to go to gymnastics this morning, and she keeps us busy for sure, and is doing great with all the different therapies we have, and they reach out and allow us to do some of that stuff, and so it's been really good.
Now, Coach, moving back to the volleyball court a little bit, talking about your team this season coming up. I know that you guys have just begun your preseason training block. And how have the first couple of weeks of practice been going? What stood out about your team so far?
Good. I mean, ultimately, we've been going probably about a week just in terms of training stuff and everything. And so it's been really good. The guys are working hard, and, we've got some new guys in the gym for sure and an older group. So I think 13 upperclassmen, and we've got 9 new guys in the gym. And so I think there's been a lot of teaching and learning passing between those players, which is really good. And, we've got things we've identified from last year where we're really trying to get better in those areas to put us in a position where we need to be by January.
Yeah. So talking about those things, what do you think is one of the biggest things that you're hoping to see improvement from your team from last year to this year?
I think finding another level of consistency in some skill set areas. And I think a little bit sharper on our passing, a little bit sharper on our serving, and those will translate into creating opportunities and being more efficient. And we'd be good at times last year, but I didn't think we were sustaining them at the level we needed to. So there's a lot you say the word consistency, but there's so much that goes into that. And then how to train that and get to the point where everybody's confident and can execute at that level.
Yeah. And Coach, you obviously look at your team this season. You have a lot of returning starters. I want to ask you about one in particular, and that's your setter, Matt Yoshimoto. Coming back for, I believe it's now his 3rd season as the starting setter. How do you feel that he's continuing to progress and develop his game?
Well, ultimately, he's just working to get healthy. He had some stuff this summer that he was trying to get better, and he's working on that right now. And so we're integrating him back into the system. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to play this summer and moved to Italy. And so, I think that's the first piece with him, is getting him integrated back in and, getting him feeling good and confident. And so he's started to do a little bit more in practice. And I think, he's a phenomenal player and athlete. And so I think, he's eager to get back on the court. So there's a balance between not getting him too much too soon and, him knowing that he'll get where he needs to be by January.
Well, Coach, you talked about your trip to Italy. Obviously, you guys were able to go on European tours this summer. How beneficial has that been for your team moving into the preseason and just gearing up for 2019?
Oh, I think it's awesome. I think, any team that can find a way to do some type of trip like that, they need to take advantage of it. And ultimately, it was a process for us, 2 years of fundraising, a lot of money. And, but the benefits not only from the volleyball side and the culture side were great, but also just for the guys getting to see a different part of the world, immersed in a culture, and there are all these other outside benefits that don't even impact the volleyball side. And I think it was a great opportunity to do that. Tim Kelly and that group did such a fantastic job for us in terms of the trip, and we really enjoyed it. And he really took care of us. And so it's something that we really want to put on the docket and continue to do, another trip in the next 4 years in terms of that. But I mean, ultimately, you do get the volleyball touches, and you got to be together sooner and even integrate a few of the new guys. And so there's definitely an advantage with that, you know what I mean, in terms of just, maybe being one step further than what you normally are during the year. And so that was nice to have.
Coach, I want to ask you a question. You look, obviously, your program has been very successful, and more people are wanting to come to Lewis to play volleyball, and your roster size has expanded a little bit. I want to ask you as a coach, what challenges does that present when you have a little bit of a bigger roster than maybe you've had in previous years, just making sure all the players are getting the necessary reps in? Does that change any way you set practices?
Yeah, actually, it does a little bit. I think it's one of those situations where we had 6 freshmen coming in, and then we had 3 guys, all 3 of these were out-of-state guys that kind of reached out to us in May. And all in their own unique situation, just like, hey, this presented an opportunity to give these guys to play high-level volleyball. And I've always been about that. One was from Hawaii, one was from Puerto Rico, and one was from Florida. Do you know what I mean? And so, and giving those guys that opportunity, and I knew it would present some challenges. How do we manage the reps with the guys that need them versus the guys that don't? And there's never nobody that doesn't need a rep. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're in your gym. Do you know what I mean? And so, the way I look at it is last year we only had about 19 guys on the roster, and we had a few injuries. So at any given time, we were with 14 or 15 guys in practice, and I definitely didn't like that. We weren't able to get some things done and get some reps to guys that needed them because the older guys needed rest. So on the flip side, now we're heavy. You know what I mean? So we're really at 26 guys. Danny Maurer, who broke his leg last year, isn't playing yet. We're looking maybe for him by January, but so we're managing 26 guys, and so it's just a little bit more creative in practice. You know what I mean? Giving that older group will take a little bit of rest sometimes towards the end of practice where we're doing some more freshman reps in certain situations, or new reps for those guys that don't have as many, and it gives those times to cheat. So it's saying, hey, you got to get the quality of reps you need to, versus quantity. And sometimes quantity isn't great anyway, in terms of what you're trying to rep out. You want to be great and efficient with the reps you're getting in terms of that. And so it's just, we have conversations with the guys about that. From a practice standpoint with all the coaches, it's putting ourselves in a position to manage, and get good quality reps on 2 or 3 courts when we need to. We've even done, some sessions where we do a separate individual here and there with coaches where, the younger guys that need those reps will be good. But at the same time, we graduate 7 and then we graduate 6. We're going to graduate 13 in the next 2 years. So if we were to pick a year to be heavy, this is the year to do it. Because then we're probably redshirting about 6 out of those 7 freshmen this year. And those guys put themselves in a position where they're in the gym a year, they're acclimated, they're putting themselves in a good spot, and they know the system. And so from the outside looking in, you're like, oh, he's heavy. How does he manage this? Why are so many people there? But from the inside, it's not like that. We still have that great team camaraderie. We're working on things to get better. And in the long run, it puts us in a really good spot. And it's no different. We did this in 15 when we graduated the 8 seniors. The class at seniors this year, those 6 or 7 guys, we basically redshirted those guys. And so it's kind of that same formula. I think we were at 24 that year, so we were a couple guys heavier this year. But it's a similar situation we were in then at the same time.
So more importantly, you have to follow up because, one of the social media things you guys do that's always interesting is your freshman races, or you have to race 3 at a time this year going
I think it might be 4 and 5, you know what I mean? So they might have to figure that out, you know what I mean? So it's always a good thing that those guys do. So I'm sure they'll find a creative way with 9 guys to keep it going, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, Coach, final question before we let you go. I want to ask you about the Diva Conference as a whole. You look at the conference this year in 2019, and, kind of from the outside looking in, it seems like a pretty wide open conference in terms of you have a lot of good teams that you can make a case for anyone to win. Do you have that feeling that this is going to be a pretty competitive year in the MIVA?
Yeah, I think the MIVA has been pretty darn competitive the last 5 or 6 years for sure. Do you know what I mean? So just in terms of, and I don't think it drops off this year. You've got a good amount of seniors that graduated on some programs, you know what I mean? But you got some other programs that return everybody, you know what I mean? And even though the programs that might have graduated some key pieces. They're easily ready to plug in a guy that's been waiting his chance or his turn to get in there. Do you know what I mean? And so, I just think the level in general has taken a nice step forward over the past 5 or 6 years and really, puts the conference in a great spot in terms of competitiveness from top to bottom. You can't walk into any gym, and be like, hey, I'm going to get a cakewalk tonight. And it wasn't always like that. Do you know what I mean? And so now you're like, hey, you got to be prepped and ready to go every single time. And I think, as we continue to do that and bring great kids into the conference, it just continues to make that competition level high.